Flying helicopters would be easy if it weren't for the facts we have to pick them up cleanly, hover them smoothly, and land them in tight spaces. So I have finally upgraded my museum piece controllers to something more modern. Will they help me do these things better? I have bought a WinWing Orion2 HOTAS kit, and in this video I'm going to show you what it's like to fly with helicopters. What do these controllers allow you to do? What helicopter-focused customizations are possible? And how well do they work in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024? So let's fly! And here is the situation. I have purchased this WinWing Orion2 HOTAS kit secondhand from a local viewer of this channel. Hello, John. And another thing, I have not yet used the Thrustmaster Warthog or AVA range, so I can't yet offer a comparison. Maybe I can do that in a future video. So let's start with this WinWing stick. All metal construction, apart from the plastic EX extension on the top left, which adds a mini stick, a hat switch, and a sort of axis trigger. I'll come to the separate throttle later. Now, this can get a bit confusing because these WinWing devices do come in different configurations, so you do need to check which one you're looking at. But on this stick, we have, by my standards, a bewildering array of switches. I've got 5 4-way hat switches, all of which act as a button press as well, and 1 8-way switch, that's the grey trim switch, also with a button press. Then we've got a mini joystick on that EX module, the red trigger switch under your forefinger, that has 2 stages which count as 2 control inputs in MSFS. There's an axis under your pinky, maybe you can use that for a speed brake or perhaps a rotor brake. And then you've got another couple of momentary push buttons as well. Wow, I still haven't figured out how to use even half of these possibilities for helicopters in MSFS. The Orion2 throttle also comes in different variants. This is the Navy Ace metal throttle grip with finger lift. On the base, though, we have 2 high-res axis sliders, which I'm finding helpful for helicopter throttles. 4 rotary encoders, which act as button presses as well. These are really great, I'm finding, for autopilot functionality. 4 dual-stage switches with a really nice chunky metal action. 4 triple-stage metal switches of the same type. 5 plastic momentary buttons. A 3-step rotary switch with a push button on it as well. And if all of that still is somehow not enough for you, let's get to the throttle grip. And here we have 2 4-way hat switches, 1 mini joystick, 3 momentary buttons, a spring-loaded thumb wheel axis, 1 metal 3-stage switch sort of under your pinky, and a spring-loaded switch you might use as a speed brake when you're flying something like the F-18. And we've got 2 main throttles, which for the purposes of helicopter flight, I'm going to gang together with the metal connector to act as 1 collective controller, which I will reverse so that I pull to add collective. More on that later. And whew, that is a lot already, and we haven't even got to customization. So, what about customization? Well, the Orion2 joystick has been supplied to me with the default cams and springs loaded on board, so that means there's no center detent and there's a medium force return to center. So for helicopter flight, I'm thinking I definitely want no center detent, that's good, but I think I want the lightest possible springs. Now, thankfully, I've also been supplied with the full kit of replacement cams and springs, like lots of different combinations possible there. So here's what we can do. We take out these 4 socket screws. Simple tools are supplied, but here I'm using my own. And that's it. The entire mechanism lifts out easily. By design, everything is open and accessible for easy changes. Here's what the default combination of cams and springs looks like on one of the 2 axes. All I have to do is unscrew them, pop the cams out with a bit of leverage, and now we have a naked stick with no cams or springs. And suddenly I'm thinking, this seems pretty good. The rubber boot that interfaces the stick with the base has a certain amount of springiness just by itself, so maybe I don't need lighter springs. I could try it just like this. And once I've got all the tools out, it really takes just a minute or two to put the whole thing back together again. And that's how much force it takes to move around the stick. It's literally finger light, and it bounces softly back to the center. I'm not concerned about that rebound. I don't actually plan to fly around like that. To me, this seems like it's going to be a good balance between heli-simming and also leaving open the possibility of the occasional low-altitude run in an F-18 just for fun. Also, we can independently adjust the tension in the throttle axes. Again, it's just a socket screw adjustment with a supplied tool. And what I'm trying to do here is get the lightest possible touch without the metal handles falling down with their own weight. So I'm feeling pretty happy with this too. And just to give you an idea of where I'm coming from on this journey, here's my 10-year-old CH Products Pro throttle. All plastic, I think 512 steps of resolution on the single main axis. And you've got to say a pretty short throw compared to this smoothly flowing new gear with its 65,000 or so steps of resolution. And here I'm having real pangs of nostalgia looking at this. My 25-year-old Microsoft Sidewinder Force Feedback 2, which I have had since new. And you can see it's all pretty light and plasticky when you put it up against new generation gear like this. I'm amazed this thing's still actually working as well as it is, I've got to be honest. Well, out with the old though, and in with the new. It's time to hop in the cockpit and see what it's like to fly with the WinWing Orion 2. And it's back to Mount Beauty in Victoria, Australia, one of my favourite helicopter training areas. Handcrafted scenery available for everyone in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So the only thing that's changed since I did the first part of the video is that I have attached the heavy flat plate onto the bottom of the stick, and it's way chunkier than I thought it was going to be, which is good, because when you're using it on a desktop setup like what I've got here, it's just fine, right? So we've got these flush socket screws here, and it really holds down the stick. I've elected not to use the supplied rubber feet. I assumed that I would just probably destroy those, and that it would be difficult to sort of move things around and sort of take things on and off the desk all the time. So what I've done is I've just used this non-slip material here, so I can take things on and off very simply just by doing that, and I quite like that solution. And I've got the same thing happening here underneath the throttle, and so that's feeling maybe not quite as secure as the stick. That's because even at the lowest tension on the levers that I can find that will cause these from not falling over, I find that I'm still moving around the base very slightly, so what I have to do is maybe just hold down slightly while I'm lifting the collective. It's fine. It's a small adaptation that I think I can make. So that's what's happened here. One other thing I did not talk about in the setup was that I have elected not to use the supplied dampers after I took the cam and springs out of the stick. Now, the dampers are designed to hold the stick in place wherever you leave it. I elected to not go for that route with this particular stick. I wanted to try it with its weak return to center with the spring, with the rubber boot, I should say. And so that's what I've gone with. What I might do is, because I lack the silicone gel, what I might do is when I obtain that gel, I might just lubricate the damper and then have it so that it holds the stick in place, but it does slowly return back to the center. I might give that a go, but then again, I'm finding, so far with my tests, I'm finding it just fine, really, like this, even for helicopters. We'll get more into that very soon. A quick look at the MSFS 2024 controller settings for my WinWing Orion joystick base 2 plus J grip F1 something, which is cut off. So, device hardware settings, that's what I want. I have left everything 1-to-1. Everything is 1-to-1. So I haven't applied any sensitivity reduction, extremity dead zones with these Hall effect sensors, these magnetic kind of sensors this technology uses. There's no jitter. It is completely smooth. I don't need to take out any sensitivity at the top or the bottom of the range. Absolutely perfect. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing here so far. With the throttle base, I have, as I teased earlier, I have reversed the axis so that we get this effect. So that down is forwards and up on the collective is back. I have chopped off a little bit, using another application, a little bit of the input, or the output I suppose, of this throttle, because it didn't really suit me with this finger lift, because I can only access the extremes of the range of this F18 style throttle with the use of the finger lift, which is not really ideal for helicopters. So what I want to really be able to do is chop off a little bit of the extremes there, so that when I push all the way forwards, now we're at minimum collective, and pulling all the way back without using the finger lifts, I'm using maximum collective, and I'm finding that works just fine. And then we've got all these other sliders as well. So these are working just fine for me as they are. So I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing here as well. Now, in terms of assignments on just the stick, for instance, I've done stuff like, I mean, it did take a while to set it all up, but then once you've done it, there are some helpful things in MSFS 2024 to make the setup of a complex new controller somewhat easier. Things like views and stuff, which I've put on, maybe if I just unpause that, I've put some views on here. So finally, with 2 hat switches, what I had previously with my 1 hat switch is that when I move the external view, like what I'm demonstrating now, I was also changing my cyclic trim. Not ideal. So now I can finally put that on 2 hat switches, and so I can program that all in here. So I can put that on external view look up, and that goes into the general category. So I save that as general all, and then I can apply that to all aircraft. I love it. I don't have to select general all manually for the WinWing Orion joystick base across the, I don't know, how many aircraft do I have in MSFS 2024 now? 100 plus, all right? So I don't need to apply it manually. I can just apply to all once I start getting these assignments the way I like them. With the helicopter, search by input, I go, for instance, nose down, or as it's called in here, decrease rotor longitudinal trim, quite confusing. That's on the point of view hat switch up, and as you can see, that's a helicopter analog style input, and that therefore gets saved into the helicopter controls. I've saved it into a helicopter scheme called helicopters all, and again, I've applied that to all helicopters. Thank you, MSFS 2024. This is a fantastic feature. It makes things so much easier for me. Now, with the H125, the twist grip, I have found some controls for that and applied those. I don't think I've got any specific Cabri G2 controls just yet, so I've left that blank for now. So it does take a while to set up, but I'm pretty happy with what I've got. I've got lots of different views and things set up over here, but there are still heaps more things unassigned yet, and plenty more scope to expand my operations on the WinWing hardware as I discover new possibilities with it. All right, now test number 1, let's fly. I've got the input viewer up in the top right. Good, you can see what I'm doing, even better. So, stable hover, test number 1. I'm going to, with the empty Cabri, we're going to go a little bit forward on the cyclic, a little bit right on the cyclic, and I don't know, about there on the pedals. We'll start with that and lift the collective and see what happens. So we'll wait until we get light on the skids, which is happening about now. I can see it coming back. Nice and slow. And I doubted myself there and went up and down on the collective a bit. But we have achieved our stable hover. Now, how much am I chasing that around with my cyclic? Answer, hardly at all. Maybe even not at all. I can just apply a gentle pressure. I can just lean on the cyclic. And it does exactly what I want to. This is glorious. I cannot tell you, this is lovely. This is really, really, really nice. I'm just actually quite relaxed on the stick. I do have to apply a bit of pressure against the pressure of that rubber boot, but it's easy. This is easy. It really is. It feels good. It feels good. What can I say? It's just... The risk with the older sticks and my older one was that you would end up chasing yourself around in the middle of the range and you would overcorrect. So it was like, oh, I'm going a bit left, push to the right. Oh, now I'm too far. Now I have to go to the left. Oh, now I'm pushing too far that way. And like the input viewer, I'd be moving it around left and right constantly and up and down. And it would be uncomfortable, both for me trying to feel relaxed operating the machine, and probably for any simulated passenger, or God forbid real life. So this is great. This is just great. All right, test number 2. We'll go for a quick circuit. So let's just repeat that pickup, hopefully. A bit faster this time. Get rid of those points of interest, that's better. And pitch down, collective up slightly. Get the speed down the runway. Easy. Easy. Now I am having to use a bit of pressure to push forwards, but it's comfortable. We're through 50 knots. And we're just fine. So here we go, up we go. Try and keep that 1,000 feet a minute. I'm going to just trim it out so that I'm not having to use all of that. I'm going to use the quick trim. Push, center, release. It's done. Okay. I know people who've come from DCS find that very upsetting. It works just fine in the MSFS 2024. It's not worth getting upset about, I don't think. I know it's the reverse of what many people are used to, but it's quick, easy, and it works well in the MSFS 2024, the quick trim, so I think it's worth getting accustomed to. So there we go. We're already on the downwind, and that's looking just fine. Again, I can fly the helicopter smoothly because I don't have to chase around any movements in the middle of the range. I'm just gently leaning on the stick to make the machine do what I want it to do. Very comfortable and easy. Already at the threshold on the downwind, so I'm just going to maybe just let that collective down a little bit. Hat switch is working just fine. The increments maybe a tiny bit larger than what I'd like. Maybe I could turn input repetition off or something and maybe have that a bit smaller. Okay, let's do this turn and lower collective again. Left pedal, that was a bit rough. Left pedal to keep that coordinated turn. Keep the wool going up and keep an eye on the threshold of the runway there. Final approach already. Easy, easy. Let's see if I can get it on the numbers. $60 knots. Oh, it's just the roll responsiveness is just lovely. Get rid of that bit of trim. Am I using the quick trim again? Oh, I've lost a little bit too much height there. Let's just fix that. Collective. On to the numbers, please, Matthew. Came up a little bit short, but not too bad in the end. And on we go. Alright, test number 3 as we hover taxi along here. And we can use this to test various... We could try and taxi sideways, so let's just orient sideways. Feed in a little bit of left. Look out the side. Try and get out of this dust cloud. Okay, that's better. So you could try exercises like this to keep everything nice and balanced. Maybe just try and stay right on the center line or maybe the edge of the runway or something, whilst maintaining your forward progress with the helicopter orientated sideways. And again, I'm having to use really nothing outrageous on the controller. I'm just leaning on it in the direction that I want to go. Bit of pilot induced messing around there. There we go, a bit better there. Get a little bit more speed on will make this a bit easier. That's better. Leaning over to the left so that we maintain our progress along the runway sideways. And so I can think of no reason not to recommend these controllers for helicopter pilots, helicopter simulation. I'm very space limited, so I have to use this little bit of space on the desk here. So I haven't got a proper mounting setup yet. Maybe I could eventually get a chair, a gaming chair, onto which I can more sort of professionally mount things. Could be better. The WinWing Orion2 stick does come with a extension kit already, so you can extend the length of the stick. I think up to about, I'm just going off memory here, sort of 10 to 15 centimeters. And that would allow you even finer control in the center here. All of the delicate work in helicopter operations is done in the center of the stick where I'm working right now. And if I were to upgrade to a gaming chair, then maybe I could get a proper collective lever controller. But then even then, like having this throttle here with all of its switches, I mean, this is terrific for fixed wing flying, and I've got all these gear switches and flap switches and things, so that's handy for various different other types of flying as well. So a really flexible setup here. One that I have absolutely no regrets purchasing. I'm absolutely fine with the setup as it currently stands. I know there's a force feedback kit as well for this. I have no idea what that's like. And there will be interesting exercises maybe for me to do in the future, maybe to see if I can test force feedback sticks as well. And maybe to put this up against something like a Thrustmaster AVA setup as well, which would be really interesting. It's, I guess, the most direct competitor. But tell me how you're going with your setup. What have you upgraded to? What do you want to upgrade to? If you have upgraded, how's it going? Are you, like me, finding helicopters rather a lot easier now with a better controller? I mean, this to me, it doesn't reduce the difficulty level of helicopters. Helicopters are still hard, but it removes the extra difficulty level that was being placed by the fact I had a old low-resolution controller that sometimes induced me to overcorrect in the center and made the hovering harder than what it needed to be. So how are you going with yours? Let me know. I'll be very interested to continue this conversation in the comments. As I said, I have no reason not to recommend the WinWing Orion2 HOTAS for helicopter simulation. I bought this with my own money, and so there's no sponsorship or any other connection that would lead me to say otherwise. So I'm very happy with my purchase, and I'd be very interested to know how you're going with yours. And remember, there is so much video content to do with flying helicopters, add-ons, tests, reviews, tutorials right here on my channel, and I hope I'll catch you in another one of those many videos real soon. So I'll see you later.